Hey guys, welcome to the shop. Now this video is going to be a little different. It's going to be a video dedicated to pretty much one item, and that item is the coolant pump out of our big K&T Model K horizontal mill. Now this thing is filthy and it needs tore down, cleaned up. I've got a part. This is the driver that comes off a shaft on the machine and turns this thing, and it's got some definite issues, so we're going to have to weld it back up and remachine it. Gear pumps are pretty neat the way that they work, so it should be pretty interesting. So I'm going to bring in, we're going to get this thing cleaned up, and then hopefully get it back in good working condition. Alright, so here's a look at the sump, and it's a heavy duty unit. This is from the manual. I see this is a gear drive, a gear pump, which are pretty simple in the way that they work, really neat, and heavy duty for sure for a system like this. This is the driver that actually goes down from that shaft I showed you. It engages with the input, or the power input of the pump, and it's got some definite issues that are going to have to require fixing. So not only will we tear this down, clean it up, get it back in good shape, we'll have to repair this pawl. I guess I'd call it a pawl, because right now it's got some definite issues. Let me bring in a little closer and show you. Hopefully you can see that. These teeth are really cammed over. These are slightly cammed. This is a little softer than this, and I think I can just dress this up with a file because it's just barely rounded. But this is going to require a little more attention. I'm going to have to weld these drivers up and then put this in the milling machine and square them up. Alright, so the first thing that I'm going to do is get this cleaned up real well. You can't weld on it or braze on it because it'll be dirty. Alright, so the final operation on this pump driver is going to be to square up the edges of the teeth. That's really all I need to do. And I'm going to be using our Sharp. This is my machine at work. It is a Sharp 10 by 50, 2-axis CNC, so it's a great mill. It's only got one issue as far as I'm concerned, and that it's extremely tall and no riser or anything. This is just a bigger machine, so in order to operate the drawbar, I have to use a step ladder. So if I'm in this machine, I have a power drawbar on it for sure. So let's square these up, and then we'll be done with this piece. Easy enough. Almost like a new one. Nice. There it is. Not perfect. Missed a couple little spots. There. I think that'll be just fine. Looks a lot better than it did. Let's start. I'm just going to soak this thing down with some engine degreaser. Got it in a 5-gallon bucket here. That way, I can just use a brush, dip it back down in there, and this stuff doesn't go on the ground. This thing's got 70 years worth of goo on it, and it's going to require some elbow grease to get clean again. So soak it down good, everywhere. This thing's got a check valve and stuff in it, as far as I can tell by the manual. So it's going to have to be tore down completely to make sure that it's going to work again. I mean, I don't want to have to do it, so that's the plan. Alright, well, get the pump out of the bucket and just wiped it off and loosened a couple bolts. All these straight screws. I'm not going to take this pipe off because I just don't think it's necessary. I'm not going to take it off of this bracket. And these surprisingly come loose easy. Just the hand. So, always nice. I assumed I would probably need an impact driver, but I did not. Now, this being a gear pump, for a coolant system, it should have you're always you turn the coolant on, and you turn it off and on right up where you're doing the work in front of the table, there's a valve there. So you deadhead this pump, you actually, you know, turn off the flow. So it has to have a high pressure return. So it returns right back in instead of pumping up through here, which it can't when you turn off the valve. It should return straight to the sump. So it should have some sort of valve that allows for that. And it also has a check valve that I seen in the parts breakdown. So I'm pretty interested to get this thing apart and actually see what makes it tick. Let me get you in closer, we'll pull this off. Oh, yeah, see why I want to take this stuff apart? And there is our check valve. Pretty neat, just a little flapper. Just that's brass or bronze, one or the other. And it just flaps back over that opening so fluid can't drain back into the pump. So it's, I guess, somewhat primed. Pretty neat, huh? And that's heavy. Today that would be just a little thin flap of sheet metal, probably. So let's get into this thing a little farther. Okay, so here we have the input, or the drive input. Here's the driver from the machine. And it's got a pin through it, and I'm assuming that it has to come off in order for these bolts and everything to slide down through. I just assume that. And looks like somebody's probably tried to drill this pin out at one point, or who knows, but looks like it's been hammered on this side. This pin looks like it was hammered in this way. So I am going to attempt to drive it out the way it come in. Well, that was surprisingly easy. So there's the pin. I wonder, I bet you that won't come off easy though. Wow, look at that. So it did. And I'm going to do this piece the same way I done this one, except there'll be no welding involved with this. I'll just, you know, remachine those. That way they made up good instead of being cammed like they are. But that's easy enough. Same operation I did on this. Okay, now let's get these bolts out. And they're a combination of 1/2 and 9/16. Why, I don't know, but they are. So last bolt. Now, I'm assuming this is the high pressure relief, but I'm not for sure. Because of this brass here, can you see that? Yeah, you can see it. Looks like a big brass plunger. Probably when the pressure builds, if you shut the valve off, you know, it pushes that plunger, probably a spring-loaded plunger, out of the way, and then coolant dumps out of here instead of getting pushed out your coolant pipe. So hopefully this will just okay, we did get some separation there. There we go. Wow. Okay, yeah, that's about what I expected. Let's get a good look at this. Alright, so we can see the pickup tube here. And if you look down through this portion here, you can see the hole where the pickup tube goes in. Well, this gear is turned clockwise. It causes a low pressure system on this side of these gears. There's a really fairly precise fit between the gears and the wall, and the tops of the gears, the tops of the case, and the bottom. And when this rotates, causes a low pressure system, coolant gets inside of these teeth, pulled around to this cavity here, which is the outlet of the pump body. So pretty simple, really. Just works like an oil pump out of a Chevy. To be honest, pretty sure they work in the same fashion. Just a closely machined gear set that pulls it up. It gets brought around, and yeah, gets put in this pocket, which drives it out the top. So simple. That's neat. This will all have to be cleaned up and greased and then put back together. But I'm interested in the high pressure relief system. I want it to work the way it should. You could produce a lot of pressure with this if that was stuck. It could cause damage. Alright, so seeing as I don't own a monster screwdriver big enough to, man, these gloves are a pain once you get a little sweaty, to fit in those slots, I have chose to use a piece of aluminum down in the slot and an adjustable wrench. And it worked. This has definitely been apart before. You can see the hammer and punch marks on it. Okay, it feels like it's under maybe a little spring pressure. I don't want it to fly off and hit us in the face. Okay. Yeah, not much. Plenty of Teflon tape and grease. That's just grease. I don't think this has been run since it's been put back together. That's grease in those pump gears too. At least that's what it looks like. I mean, that's clean grease. I think if this thing was, well, I don't know if it would get back to this or not, but it at least says it, probably been serviced anyway. Who knows? Whatever. Anyway, try to get this out of here. Yeah, it's free. That's all it is. Yeah, it would get back on there. This is a hole, so it equalizes pressure on the back side of the spring, I think. And that's it. This just seals up against the face in there, and if the pressure gets too high, like you shut off the valve for the coolant, this opens up and allows coolant to return back through into the sump. Very good. Well, I can safely say that there is absolutely nothing complicated about this pump. And it does have some wear in it. I can see some wear in this upper part of this casting of the pump where the gears have rubbed, the tops of the gears have rubbed the casting. Well, we got a big chopper flying over. I don't know if you can hear that or not. See how you couldn't. But this could easily be fixed. Surface ground, just to remove the wear. It wouldn't hurt a thing. And then you'd be back in business as far as this wear anyway. So all this is going to have to be cleaned up. Pull this. Let's see, the gear is in the driven gear is in the left-hand portion. So nothing but a huge gear. Not huge, but big. And to be honest, well, no, maybe not. I don't know. They don't look like they've got a lot of wear on these. So, all I'm going to do, yeah, they've got some corrosion and stuff on them. They're definitely not probably a replacement, but they don't look bad though. So, I mean, they'll work. They just might not be as efficient as it would have been new with wear like that and wear on these gears. But, so that's all. I'm going to put these in the bucket just like I did the whole unit, clean them up, and we'll put it back together. There's no gaskets or anything on any of this. The only thing that had any sealing stuff on it was this big screw, and it had some Teflon tape on it. So we'll put a little back when we get it back together, and you know, call it good. Cleaning out the sump, or the foot of a big machine and the pump, is a lot like cleaning, I think, a septic system. You know, nobody wants to do it. It is the worst job, I think, that you could do on a machine, but after you're done, you know, you're glad you did, and then chances are you never have to do it again. So I will be glad to get this done. The pump's not bad. I mean, that's easy, but the foot on that machine is testing me. But I'm getting it. I'm definitely getting it. It's slow though. It's nasty. Just cleaning up all these, stoning the mating surfaces because there's no gaskets, and then I'm gonna, then we'll put it back together. Alright, well, man, when they designed this pump, efficiency, I don't think, was their main goal. I think it was definitely reliability, because, I mean, this thing has no gaskets. It has weep holes, or I wouldn't call it a weep hole, but a drain hole. So if this leaks here around the input shaft, the fluid will come out, drain down in this hole, drain back into the casting. Around this pump, it has a place that's captured in the foot. So if it leaks anywhere else, it can drain into the casting, and everything is just way overbuilt, in my opinion. And I don't think grease will be necessary, really. I'm going to put just the slightest bit on it in the reassembly, but it has little holes in the sides of this gear here, and I believe this pump here is lubricated by the actual coolant, so it shouldn't require any grease, really. I mean, it runs in coolant, so it should lubricate itself. I'm going to put some grease on the mating surfaces. Keep the surfaces from rusting together, or, and maybe help sealing a little bit. It does have some wear up here. It's not a whole lot, but it looks bad, but you can feel it with your fingernail. It's not going to make any difference though. Alright, now for our plunger, just a little on that. And for our plug, I see it a lot, especially at work. People will, for one, they'll wrap their Teflon tape backwards. And for two, they'll put way too much on it. I always like to wrap it so when you screw it in, it doesn't unravel. And usually just a couple times around, 2-3 times around, there's probably a specified amount, but I find a couple times around is plenty, because if when you screw it in, it pushes all the tape off. I mean, that doesn't do any good. Should be good. I mean, this thing's about as basic as it gets, really. Got my flapper cleaned up and out. And I cleaned up all the hardware. There we go. All that's left is to clean up that. That's no big deal. Well, that was it. Pulled this thing down, cleaned it up, really is all we had to do. It really needs to be resurfaced, but like I said, I'll see how it acts, and if it is not strong enough, we will pull it down and resurface some of that stuff. Probably have to get some Plastigauge to measure our clearance inside of there, because that top plate will have to be resurfaced, and possibly the top of the top of the bottom of this pump. So we'll see. Just a quick little video for you guys. I wanted to do that in a little more detail than what I probably would have been able to do on my normal videos. And if you watched my previous videos, you've seen where I installed this. Simply, 2 bolts. So no, you didn't miss anything by me setting it inside there and putting 2 bolts down. Now, I got a video coming up this coming week where I find a major issue wrong with this machine that I'm going to have to address. So I'm a little disappointed about that, but I'm not surprised. So we'll have to tear into this thing and fix it. I've got the motor outside already, so we're going to show that on next week's video too, and several other things. We fix our motor plate. We get into a lot of things. So if you guys like this kind of video, just let me know. We'll do more little odds videos, odds and ends. But thanks for watching, guys. If you haven't, make sure to subscribe to the channel by clicking on my little guy up here and hit the bell for notifications. And as always, I'll see you next time.